Welcome to Growth and Inspire, where we examine topics that make us feel inspired and grow. I'm your host, Bonnie Yam, and we will be posting frequently on topics to help you run your business better. It can be issues involving taxes, planning for business growth, or just how to run your business more efficiently. Whether you are an individual or a business owner, this podcast is for you. Now, let's get started with today's episode. Today, our topic is a very interesting topic on how to excel on human connection. And our speaker is Stephen Howard from Humonyleadership. Hello, Stephen. So,
Hello, Bonnie. Good to have a conversation with you this morning.
so happy to have you on our podcast. So before we start, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your company?
Well, I grew up in a little town in the western part of the U.S. you might have heard of called Las Vegas. Went to high school there, college, actually elementary school, junior high, high school, college, and then I worked in Texas for a few years. And then the company I was working for, Texas Instruments, sent me to Singapore.
All right,
And I
nice.
ended up living in Asia for 21 years. Then I moved to
Wow.
Australia for 12 years.
Oh, you have a
And
nice life.
yeah, it was a hardship post. And recently spent 3 years in Mexico. So I've lived most of my adult life and well over half
All
my
around the
life
world.
outside the US. Yeah. So I have a different
That's
perspective than
great.
many of your
Wonderful.
guests.
Yeah. So, can you explain the company's name? Humany? Like, why is it called Humany?
Well, humany is thank you for the pronunciation. That's correct. Humany is a word I created.
Mm.
And it was during COVID. I was sitting on my balcony in Mexico City and watching the sun go down. And admittedly, I had a glass of wine in front of me and was just thinking about how peaceful things were. I was just surprised at the peacefulness. And I was thinking of leadership. And I wrote the word harmony down. And
Mhm.
then I wrote a question like, why don't we have harmony in our lives? And then why don't we have harmony in the workplace?
Good question.
And I started thinking about how leadership is going to change coming out of COVID, and we need to be more people centric. So I wrote the word
Okay.
human down
Okay.
and ended up combining human harmony and humanity
Mhm.
into this word humany, which I created. So
Mhm.
it's that's
Mhm.
what the word means. It means combining human harmony, humanity, and the need for leaders to build workplaces of well-being and
Mhm.
harmony.
Yep. How about like humor too? So we smile a little bit.
Well, that would be helpful too.
All right, so just let's give everybody some background. What are the issues in today's corporate world that you see that we're facing regarding human relationship?
Well, I think a couple we're facing, and some of them are older and some of them are fairly new. The older ones are many people get into managerial or supervision positions and they've never been trained. And so they think they're the boss and they want to manage people. And I think coming out of the pandemic, as people reflected, this is where the change is, people reflected on where does workplace fit in my life? How important is work to me
True.
compared to work-life balance or what I would call work-life harmony?
Mhm.
Um, and then the old concept of managing people, that's a 1980s construct. And people today, they don't wait. No one wakes up the morning, Bonnie, and says, I can't wait to be managed by
Oh
my
my
boss
God,
today.
yes. Yeah, I
Uh,
think that would
and
take.
yeah, and especially that no one says, I can't wait to be micromanaged today. So, you know, so the
Yeah.
concept is the human leadership concept is very straightforward. You manage projects, you manage policies, processes, procedures,
Mhm.
you manage projects, but you lead people. And yes, sometimes you have to manage a person, but that
Mhm.
should only be 10, maybe 15% of your time. The rest of the time, you should be leading people. And
Yes, that's
it's
right.
that mindset change that's going to make a difference in how good of a leader you are post pandemic.
That's right. That's right. You know, a lot of people think that they're the boss and they want to over supervise, over manage. I don't think that's very smart. Yeah. Anything else that you see? Other issues? Are the employees happy, not happy? Business owners, are they happy? You know, the other thing I see is like that's happening is that one is management. The other thing is like it's really hard to find good employees. Their heart is not with the business. In the past, this might be a little different. Like my dad's generation, okay, they really treat them a lot more seriously. Now it's very short term gains from the company side and from the employee side. They don't really, I only here because you pay me. That's it. That's about it.
Well, I would ask the question, do companies deserve employee loyalty today? And I would say very few of them do, which is, I think, so it's kind of a chicken and egg situation. But if companies aren't showing the loyalty and you see,
That's true too.
companies laying off 5,000, 10,000 people at a time,
Looking
that's
at the high tech.
mismanagement. I mean,
Yes.
if you built your company up, I think of Elon Musk recently, earlier this year. If you've got 10,000 more employees than you need at Tesla,
Mm,
somebody has mismanaged that because somebody or some buddies have hired those people and have made the wrong
decisions.
strategic
Yeah.
decisions
Yes.
on how many cars are going to sell and where's the marketplace going. But those are not the people being fired. It's the employees and their families being impacted. So I'm not sure a lot of companies deserve employee loyalty. The other thing I would suggest, Bonnie, is trust and research.
Ah,
Trust in the
no,
workplace globally, not just the United States, but globally, well over half of employees do not trust their companies or their bosses,
right.
but also well over half bosses don't trust their employees. Now,
Employees.
so how are you
Totally.
supposed to build relationships? How are you supposed to
Everything is
build a well-oiled team, a team of
no.
collaboration if you don't trust the people working for you?
That's right. Everything is too profit based, short-term profit too. You pay me, therefore I'm here. And the company needs to report the financial reports to the shareholders, to the stock market. Okay. Otherwise, it's hard for them to get the loans and everything. It's too complicated.
It is, but the one of the issues, of course, is that focusing on short-term profits burns people out, and you have high turnover, you have mistakes, you have
Mhm.
disloyal employees,
Mhm.
you have mismanaged organizations. What
Right.
about long-term profitability?
That's
Because
right.
other than the share traders
Exactly.
who are trading in
Yep.
and out, and why would you even care about them, quite frankly, except unless you're paid in stock options, and then that's the problem. You care about your stock price. See, the thing is, people always say we care, we drive our companies for the shareholders.
Mhm.
No, people are driving their companies because their executives are being paid in stock options. And that's the single reason they're paying, focusing on short term. They don't care about Wall Street. They care about Wall Street keeping the price up because
Mhm.
it benefits their own bottom line.
Pocketbooks. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say. That's how we manage
Yeah.
the future profits. Like more short-term focus now. Long-term, well, I mean, if I don't have short-term, where do I get long-term? So,
But let's say you have a great 2024, but you burn all your people out and you hit January and
yeah.
you have high employee turnover and you got people making mistakes and you have lawsuits coming because people make a mistake. That ruined your 2025. And so most businesses want to be sustained. They want to continue on long term. But if you kill people in 2024, you can wipe out your 2025 and your 2026. That makes no sense unless you're going to cash out.
No, you're so right. I think, when you talk about training the employees, you probably train the boss first. Think it properly, long-term profits, short-term profits. Like how do you reverse this? So if you want to buy people's loyalty, what are some of the strategies that we can accomplish?
Well, you have to incentivize people the right way. The one thing that comes to my mind is make these executive stock options based on 3-year growth projections or
Long-term.
3-year sustainable
I
profitability,
like
not 3 quarters.
that.
Because then interesting. But I think I read recently that the average CEO in the United States is only CEO for like 16 months. Now it might have been 26,
Oh,
but it's not like 5 years. So people are not taking these jobs and lasting very long. So they're focusing on, as you said earlier, how's it going to impact my pocketbook?
and then they get these sign-on bonuses, so they get the money up front too. And then
Sure.
if like back end it takes a very long time for it to get vested, they don't care. I'll move
Yeah.
on to another
Or,
company. Keep
or you're
making
like Starbucks, you hire a new CEO, and apparently the gentleman's fabulous from what he did at Chipotle, but Starbucks is having a return to office mandate, yet this gentleman's going to commute on a private plane from Southern California to Seattle. So, what is that telling your employees? Well, the return to office only applies to
Yes, it's gonna happen. Sorry about that.
uh, those of us who can't afford private planes, or if we want to return the office, we need a private plane to do so.
That's another good discussion point. Like nowadays, the way we operate is a little different now. Before you have to be in the office. Now this is a hybrid mode. You know, you can work some
Mhm.
days, even big companies. Some days you're required to be in the office. Some days you can work at home. And also like the team management is like cross state. You know, I'm working with my co-team member, but they're based in California. So I'm in New York, they're in California, 3 hour time difference already. So you just have to
Mhm.
kind of like manage it. So once you get it done, maybe there's one day everybody has to be in the office, other days you just figure it out.
Well, you do. You figure it out and figure out what works for people. And that's why I came up using the concept of harmony,
Mm.
work-life harmony. What's going to work for people? I've been working at home, by the way, since 1993 when I
You
lived
enjoy
in
it, right?
Singapore. I don't know what everyone got all upset about, but you learn to adapt. But you also have to understand, again, you have to be a people-centric leader. You have to understand that, yeah, if a person's working from home, they're going to get interruptions. Like the plumber's going to come. Somebody's going to have to come in and fix a broken window, and they need to take time out. Well, what happens in the workplace? People think, well, that's non-productive. Well, people in the office, where do they spend their time? Oh, they're in the cafeteria having a chat. They're having coffee with the colleague, and maybe talking about work or maybe talking about the weekend football games. So you need to have the concept that we're paying people to accomplish tasks, to create a future for the company, and trust them to do so, whether they're sitting at their desk typing on the keyboard for 8 straight hours, or if they're working for 3 hours and taking 2 hours off and coming back for 5 hours. It doesn't matter as long as they're meeting their deadlines, meeting their responsibilities to the company, to the customers, to their colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares what hours they work?
And the other thing is that nowadays with technology, it's so much easier. You can do chat, you can do
Yeah,
Zoom calls. I mean, it's still face to face. It's different, like, you're not sitting right next to me, but there's still a little bit more than just a phone call. So it's easier.
it is, but then there's always a downside. One of the downsides of that is people relying, I find, too much on chat. In fact, I'm coaching a woman right now in an organization, and we were talking last week in the coaching call, and she said, "Well, I sent so and so about an issue she was having." And says, "Well, I sent so and so a chat. I haven't heard back from her." I said, "Have you picked up the phone to call?" No. Well, why not? Because we chat all the time. Well, this
Nobody's reading the chat now,
over
which is fine.
reliance on chat, over
Yes,
reliance on
that's
email,
right. Yep.
communication goes astray because I
Mhm.
may say something to you like, "Why in chat? Why are we doing this?" You may take that as pushback. I'm sending it for clarification purposes, but you can't hear my
Ye-
voice in a chat message. You can't hear my
Yes.
voice in an email, and so you interpret it, not misinterpret it. You
Yep.
interpret it your way, but not necessarily the way I meant it to be
You're so
interpreted,
right.
and
And
that's
not only
miscommunication.
that, chat, not everybody reads it. And when you do Zoom meeting, not, particularly in a big group, how would you know that they're always paying attention? They might be triple tasking, multitasking, I would never know, okay? So it's
Exactly.
different. You need to actually see that person right next to you, do it together, and then share the common experience of getting the job done. It can be replaced. So yeah. Well, like you cover some really interesting, I wouldn't say like it's an interesting topic, but the thing is it's so freaking complex. It's hard to find a perfect solution. It's probably depending on the company work environment, what they try to accomplish, and then the employee their responsibility, the duty, and I mean, you need to throw in some flexibility, but still, there's got to be certain rules established. So it's not everything remote. You do whatever you want. How can
Well,
you
why
bring more
not? Why
camaraderie?
not? Why not do whatever you want as long as you're getting your job done and as long as you're not have whatever you're doing doesn't negatively impact your colleagues' ability to get their work done. I think this the concept, the old the old concept of, and still current concept of, well, we have to treat everyone fairly.
Mhm.
Well, is it fair or is it equitable? I mean, if you need to work at home 4 days a week
Mm,
and I need to work at home, or I can come to the office 3 days a week.
mm.
That suits me. What suits you? What's best for your work to get your work done? Yes, this takes more. This is why I call leadership an art, Bonnie, rather than a science.
It is
Uh,
true. It's
and
not easy.
it's like you have to
Depends.
change. You have to be agile. You have to be
Yeah,
flexible,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you have to trust. The interesting thing is, the more you trust people, chances are the more they're going to do, because the more they're going to show that they're trustworthy. But if you've got an organization and you're monitoring people's keystrokes when
I
they're
know.
working
You have
remotely,
no better time, do you? You work. Yes, yes, yeah.
what do you expect?
Uh,
Trust and loyalty like that? I mean, give me a break. I mean,
yeah.
um, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, like, you bring up a lot of interesting points. One is flexibility. One is maybe the company's overall, what is it, the motto? Like, how do you treat your customers and the work ethic you want to promote? I mean, if you're the business owner, you probably want to say something. At least, like, you don't want to have like hardcore coding, how every day, how you manage your day, but some maybe some atmosphere. And you tell me like,
Yeah.
exactly, how would I feel to be part of the company? If it's too loose, it's also no good because there are a lot of people who would take advantage of it.
Oh, look, there are, but the thing I like to say to people is like, only 5, 6, maybe 7% of the people will take advantage of it. If it's higher than that, then you've hired the wrong people. But
Mhm.
what do you want to focus on? The 93, 94, 95% of the people who will be efficient, and if you give them loose guidelines, they will work within those guidelines.
Mhm.
Or do you want to worry about the 5 or 6 or 7% who will
No, 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 of course.
Skype
Yeah,
off and
yeah, yeah.
Skype off, and if they do, then over time you replace that 5 or 6%. But you're
Mhm.
where you spend your managerial time, where you spend your leadership time, I suggest is much better on that 90+% who
Mhm.
are going to excel, who are going to be innovative and collaborative and figure out how to make things work in whatever environment that you create.
Mhm. So you bring up a point that you need to trust your employees. And then I guess that there has to be effective communication back and forth from
There has
the,
to be effective, and
yeah.
there also has to be the manager and above also have to have trust in one another. One of the reasons for these return to office mandates is that many managers, and by managers, I'm talking about first line, second line managers, not
Yeah.
not executives. Their biggest fear is their boss coming along and saying, "Hey, Stephen, how's it going on that project? How's Bonnie doing on that project?" And I go, "Well,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I haven't talked to her."
I don't know.
And that fear, see, you're laughing because you know it. You're
I
in that, and
know.
you lived in
You're
the
too
environment
busy,
like most
so
of us
sorry.
have. That fear of I would say, but if my boss
Hmm.
is strong enough to say, "Okay, Stephen, go find out and let me know by tomorrow, or let me know by this afternoon,"
Oh, yeah.
rather than saying, "Why don't you know?" So this fear is top down, and it cascades down. And we have to, if we can eliminate it at the higher echelons, and then my boss wouldn't say, "Okay, fine, Steve." They say it's okay to say I don't know in a good environment, but I'll go find out and I'll go get back to you.
Communication, top down, bottom
Communication.
up communication. Yes, you need to communicate. You can't
Absolutely.
just sit down and do your work and expect everybody to know what's going on. It doesn't happen.
And not having that fear, having some humility that you as a manager, you don't have all the answers.
No.
None of us can have all the answers today. The world's too complex. Things are changing so fast. Um, you have to trust your team to help you come up with the answer sometimes, but
Yeah.
your boss has to also be able to trust you to say, "I don't know, we're working on it," or I'll give you an update, or "I'm talking to Bonnie tomorrow, I'll update you after my phone call with her."
Hmm.
Eliminating that fear factor would increase productivity
That's true
more
too. That's
probably than
very
any
true.
other thing leaders could do in their organizations.
Yeah, and you need to kind of train them to ask questions. A lot of times they're afraid to ask questions because they think that, okay, I'm supposed to find the answers. I don't know, then I'm not doing my job properly. Maybe I can't. I mean, then that's not good because the problem gets delayed and pushed out. So that's also not good. But I know a lot of people don't know how to ask, don't want to ask, and they think it's too smart to ask. So that's an issue. So we
It
need to
is.
train the employees to, hey, raise the issues at the right moment. It's okay, because we're working together as a team.
It is, and it's one of the things I coach people. And I published a book earlier this year about effective delegation, and I put this
Mm.
in that particular book. When you have a one-on-one with an employee, what do you focus on? Typically, what's the status of the project? Are we on schedule? Are we on budget? What's the next steps? Okay, great. That's a good leader, a good manager will, then that's a conversation. A great leader will say, okay, Fonnie, that's great. Now, where are your potential obstacles? What can I do as your manager or leader to help you
That's a great.
overcome those obstacles? But they don't go to that extent. It's like, and so a one-on-one conversation today is you telling me so I can walk out of the meeting fully informed. A great one-on-one meeting would be you walk out of the meeting as well as my employee thinking,
Yes.
okay, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. My boss trusts me and he's here to help me. Even if you don't need help right now,
Mm,
walking out with that confidence, knowing that you can come to
mm,
me
mm,
when you hit that hurdle, when some obstacle you didn't expect pops up,
mm,
that confidence that
mm,
that I've got your back
mm.
rather than I'm going to criticize you for not handling that
Mhm.
obstacle you're going to do a much better job.
You mentioned another very interesting point, got me thinking, is like setting goals. So when I meet up with you, how am I accomplishing my goal? If I have issues, I have obstacles, I talk to you, you'll help me with it. So we
That
work
should be my
together.
job.
Yeah. And
My
then you have
my
nice,
job.
yeah. I like
My
your list of like, the step by step, the budget, whatever, issues and how do you do the reflections and report back. I think, it's good to have a little template because otherwise it's too broad. I don't know, okay, where do I start? Where do I stop? I waste so much time just talking too. So,
yeah, yeah, and the that should be my role as your manager. One of my roles is well, I've got a couple roles as your manager. One, I should every time I give feedback or share feedback with you, I should not only do I want to build your competency and your capabilities, I want to build your confidence.
mm, mm,
So every feedback, whether it's enhancing feedback or reinforcing feedback, should build your confidence. So
that's
that's
great. Yeah.
number one.
Mm,
Number two, I should always show that I've got your back. I will support you in those decisions, whatever decisions you're making, or help you make better decisions if necessary. Uh, and that I lost my train of thought there, but then that basically we're in this together and I'm here to help you. I'm here to clear hurdles for you that you can't clear for yourself. Think of me as your snowplow. When it's
we
snowing,
have the
when,
same.
when it's snowing in New York in winter, and I
You look
laugh because I
out.
live in Arizona, but who's the best person that
That's
helps
all
you
you.
be efficient on your job during the winter is the person out there in the snowplow at four
That's
o'clock in the
right.
morning
That's
so
right.
you can
That's
drive
right.
to work. He or she's your most valuable player.
But I really like the way how you lay out, how I'm helping you, how I'm helping you reach your goals, not just physical goals, personal goals. How I'm going to help you
Yes.
improve your job and how I'm going to make everybody be a better person and help the company grow too. I think like people just zero in on one thing, do to get the job done, and then that's it. You get
Yeah.
100% or you get 0%. So I think there's a
Yeah.
lot
But
more to it.
who are you going to stay loyal to? Absolutely. If you're learning things under me as your leader, you're less that's going to help your personal life as well as your
And
professional
I would
life,
like
like
to stay with you too
decision making
because
skills,
I'm learning.
feedback skill. Yeah, are you gonna walk down the street to another job that for
No,
$5,000 or even
no.
ten
Yeah, I
thousand
got
dollars maybe?
emotional satisfaction, monetary satisfaction, and I know I'll be able to grow the company because you trust me, I trust you.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, if somebody offers you $25,000 a year more and I can't afford you, yeah, you're
Yeah,
probably going to go.
bye
I
bye.
understand that there is an economic factor, but for five, six, $7,000 and for $500 a month, are you going to leave a workplace environment where
For 20 years or whatever.
you're
No,
growing personally, you're being stretched,
no.
and you
Yeah,
can take those skills in your personal life when you serve on your
yeah, yeah. People
PTA
love
committee
me. I'm
or
happy working there. I might
Yeah,
get fired, if I don't produce the next 3 months. He said, but you're not that good, Bonnie. We hired the wrong person. Bye.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's like a lot of,
So it's
great content that you talk
it's,
about.
that's the purpose for the book. Being this is what I mean by being people centric in your leadership style and understanding how to grow people, develop people, which I think should be your number one
Number one goal.
responsibility as a leader.
Yes, 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 yes. Not just like with employees, kids too, same thing. You train them
Sure.
and they trust you, they grow with you, and then they feel like part of the family.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they will just sell you the next, slightly give me another $5,000. I'm gone. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, leadership is a lot like parenting in
It
many
is.
ways.
It is. Yeah, but hopefully, more people is going to learn from you because I think they are putting all this emotional or this other qualitative side, I'd say. We just focus too much on the quantitative. The qualitative being neglected for a long, long time. And that's going to hurt you in the long run because to grow the company takes a little bit more than just numbers in the next 3 days. Okay, so
Yeah.
you need a bit
You
more.
know, in the 1990s, when I was a leader, I mean, I worked at Citibank. The last company I worked for as a vice president of marketing. The old saying at the time was, um, uh, what you measure gets done, and so everything had
Ha
quantitative
ha ha ha.
aspects to it. And here's the other thing that's changed, Bonnie. And this again, when I was a leader, and I had 23 people reporting to me.
Oh, wow.
And Fortune magazine and Business Week magazine would run covers and talk about these great leaders who get the most out of their people.
Mm,
And that's what we did at Citibank. We drove people, get the most out of them. That
nice.
doesn't work with today's generation. That doesn't work post COVID. The world has changed. I
Yes.
suggest that the more you put into your people as a leader
Mm-hmm.
and trust them,
Mm-hmm.
develop them, then
Mm-hmm.
you'll get the most out of them in terms of the results that you desire. They'll probably exceed your results, but you've got to put it into them first
Yes.
and
You
then
need to
reap the
invest.
rewards afterwards.
You need to. I think you share so many great things. I want to ask you about. I know that you wrote 20 something books. So what I like to do is ask you to talk about some of your books that you really want you would share, the top 3 or 5 or whatever. You should start with this one because this is going to teach you
I'm
what you
sorry,
should do it.
you broke up
Take
the.
it from there.
Well, the book, as you see on my name there, Humonyleadership, the topic we're talking about, that came out about 18 months ago. Been done very well. It's an award-winning book. In fact, it got the gold medal from the
Thank
award
wow.
from the Nonfiction Authors Association. And that's just about leading people in the workplace. Now, my new book, which came out earlier this month, takes this concept of humany,
Mm.
people centric, and applies it in our personal lives. And that book is
Ah,
titled Humany Mindset: Change the World by Changing Your Mindset. And it's all about how we interact with people outside the workplace as well as within the
oh boy,
workplace.
this is like so
And
yeah.
yeah, and how we can, none of us, you, me, no one listening to this broadcast is going to solve the Middle East crisis. None of us are
Ah,
going to solve
yeah.
global poverty. I mean, the Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, the world's hopefully are solving malaria, but we don't have those kind of resources. But we can all make our neighborhoods better, our schools better,
Mhm.
our relationships with other people, even strangers better, just by treating everyone with compassion, peacefulness, kindness, and
Fantastic.
respect. And
Yep.
respect is what we're
Yes.
lacking in today's
Ah,
world, particularly the United States, but globally, but because we live in such a divisive times. And it's going to take all of us at a human level to start treating each other with respect and compassion
mm.
to change the world going forward so that our children and our grandchildren will inherit a better world. And right now, we're not leaving them a
Absolutely
better
agree.
world.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, we need to feel like loved, cared about, and then we'd be able to produce and contribute and live a good life. And
Yes.
we all
Yeah.
happy. So I'll definitely post the 2 books, okay? And then people can buy it online on Amazon, right? And they can start
All on Amazon,
yeah,
on
everything on
Kindle,
this side, right?
audio book, print book, whatever you want.
Hmm. Anything else to add, Stephen?
This has been a great conversation. I'd like to leave your audience with a closing thought, if I could,
Yes, go ahead. Yeah. Mhm.
because it's the heart of my thinking. And that basically is never stop learning because life never stops teaching.
I
And
so agree. Yeah. Otherwise the
just
AI will take over. So we had to
I'm not sure we'll leave anything left for them to take over, but But yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what age you are. In one of my earlier books talked about brain health because my father passed away from early Alzheimer's or with early Alzheimer's,
Yeah, it's
and
important. Yeah.
we can all our brain continues to grow. When I was in high school, I was taught, our brain stops growing at age 25. And
I
now
think so.
neuroscientists know that's not
Yeah.
true. Our brain grows in our 60s, our 70s,
Continue.
probably grows in our 80s. There just aren't enough 80-year-olds around yet. But learning new things,
It's good. I agree.
learning
Yes.
learning new routes,
It makes
very
life
important.
interesting too. Come on, right? Every day, otherwise it's gonna be boring. I really enjoyed today's conversation. Okay,
I do
so
too.
yeah, I hope everybody else who's listening in also enjoy today's podcast. So if you like what you hear, please leave us a review. Your feedback will help us grow, reach more listeners, and improve our content. And don't forget to like us and follow us on social media. Join us in our next podcast will be tax minimization with charitable donations. It is something we all want to know more about. So let's keep learning. Until next time, stay inspired. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you, Bonnie.